All right, so today I am getting my TREMFYA infusion. This will be my first infusion, and I am pumped. I've been off of treatment for the last few weeks, so I'm ready to get this going. It'll take a couple hours. I will have 3 infusions, so 1 infusion per month over the next 3 months, and then I move to subcutaneous injections. But this is the loading dose phase of that, so I'm excited. So let's go get that infusion. I'm very excited. I've been symptomatic. I've been a little bit of a flare, so I'm very ready. My body is ready. Let's go. So hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. As you just saw from the first clip, I recently started TREMFYA to treat my Crohn's disease, and I want to talk about it, walk you through my first infusion, how I'm feeling, how the day went, and what's next. So as I've talked before, I was on Humira for 10 years and had multiple switches from Humira to a biosimilar, back to Humira, back to a biosimilar, and I lost my clinical remission. And so about 7 weeks ago, we made the decision to completely stop Humira and go to something new. And that new medication was TREMFYA. So if you don't know what TREMFYA is, it was recently approved for Crohn's disease earlier this year and ulcerative colitis end of last year. It's been around for a long time, but just got the indication for IBD, so Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. And it's an IL-23 inhibitor, so it is different than Humira, which is anti-TNF. So it's got a different mechanism of action. And this was a drug that I really wanted to go to after we kind of started talking about it because it has such really good clinical data on it. And so we made the decision to start it. And, I was bummed about the whole Humira situation. I'd been on it for so long. It worked really well, but having to go back and forth to different, Humira to biosimilar to a different biosimilar and losing my clinical remission, I was just ready to call it quits as well. So because I know that I could have clinical remission and be in kind of that a really good state that Humira got me in. And so I didn't want to just settle for subpar results from a medication that I know used to work really, really well for me. And it was a tough decision for sure to kind of stop from what I knew for so long and to go to something different. But I was not feeling good at all and just ready to go ahead and make that switch. So after a few weeks of trying to get a prior authorization for it through my insurance and all of that we all have to go through, all the red tape, and it did take too long. It did take probably 3 weeks from kind of the time that we made the decision to stop my biosimilar Humira and go to TREMFYA to kind of get the approval and to go ahead and get my first infusion. And so if you're not familiar with TREMFYA either, you have loading doses, which is with most biologics, and then you go to kind of your maintenance dose. And so in Crohn's disease, you have the option to do 3 infusion loading doses or subcutaneous injection loading doses. In ulcerative colitis, right now, you only have the option to do infusion loading doses. But for me, we decided to go ahead and just do the infusion loading doses. So it's 3 spread out over 3 months. So every 4 weeks, I'll get 3 of these infusions. And the reason was, honestly, she asked me and I said, let's just do infusion. I do a bunch of injections. Let's go ahead and give myself a break from injections and we'll do some infusions. And so made that decision and I had my first infusion 3 weeks ago, really today. So today is Wednesday, July the 2nd. So I had my first infusion 3 weeks ago. And I had been on infusion medication before. I was on Remicade back a long time ago. After I was first diagnosed, I did 3 to 3.5 years of Remicade, which is completely, totally infusions. You didn't have any other option at the time. And so it's been a while, obviously, but I knew what to expect for the most part. So the day of, as you saw my initial video, I recorded kind of the day of, and I'll show you the after part that I recorded. But the day of my infusion, I went, and my GI clinic has an infusion center, so I went and did it there. And the typical stuff, you go in and they did offer, or tried to get me to take, so pre-meds, which is Benadryl and some Tylenol. I asked if we could do something other than the Benadryl or not do the Benadryl at all because I have that reaction to Benadryl, what kind of gets your heart pumping and all of that stuff and kind of gives you a little bit of anxiety. At first, I didn't know if they were going to let me not do it just because I get it. Like, it's a new medication. I've never had it before. They don't want you to have any kind of allergic reaction. But they did decide, they gave me some IV Pepsid that was supposed to help just in case. And then I still took the Tylenol. So didn't have to take the Benadryl, thankfully. I would have taken it. I just don't like the way that it makes me feel. And so I had to do that. And then you wait 30 minutes, and then they come in, they get get your medicine in, got my IV in, and then waited 30 minutes, and then you start the infusion. And it really wasn't bad. Here are some pictures throughout of the infusion. I have my own little room. And yeah, it was pretty easy. The infusion took an hour to 15 minutes kind of total. And then I had to wait 30 minutes after just to make sure that it didn't have any kind of reaction to it. And so the infusion day was really easy. I felt fine afterwards. But this is what I experienced kind of post-infusion over the next kind of week and where I'm at now. So for a couple of days after the infusion, I was tired. I was a little more fatigued, and I assume that is really just my body adjusting to a brand new medication and everything. So I was just really tired and needed a little extra sleep. And so my tips for infusions, one is just prepare to take a nap afterwards. Prepare if you can. I did mine later in the day, and so it was like 4:30 in the afternoon when I got done, so I didn't have to work anymore, so I was able to come home and relax. I went to bed early that night. And so if you can, try to plan some time. My other tips, though, too, I know I'm backtracking a little bit, but take a book to read, take something to watch while you're there, take some water, take a snack at the infusion center just to help kind of let the time pass. Anyways, I was just really tired for a couple of days, and after, I don't know, probably 2-3 days afterwards, I felt a lot better in terms of the fatigue. I had a little bit of a headache here and there, but I think obviously it's just my body adjusting to kind of a new medication that I hadn't taken before. So overall, not a horrible experience at all. Again, the biggest thing, I did have a little nausea as well. However, nausea was something that I was experiencing due to losing my clinical remission. It did seem like it may have been a little more at the time, so hard to tell if that was from the medicine or whatnot. I do remember my first Remicade infusion that I ever had, I got really nauseous, and so I think it's just part of your body adjusting to new medication and all of that. So honestly, nothing major, nothing that I couldn't really deal with. It wasn't anything that really stood out other than just being kind of tired. So really, honestly, chill experience. Nothing major came about. I got my infusion and just felt tired for a few days. And so now, prior to starting this medication, TREMFYA, in terms of symptoms that I had, so nausea was one of them. Nausea is something that I've dealt with for a very long time due to Crohn's disease, and I still get it every now and then, but it really picked up during the time that my Humira stopped working. Irregular bowel habits. So I was having some diarrhea, then the constipation, and a little bit of abdominal pain. But the nausea and the irregular bowel habits are the things that I noticed kind of the most while I started to realize that my Humira was not working anymore. And probably a week before my infusion, a few days before, I started bleeding. And so I went to the bathroom and it was just a ton of blood. And so prior to getting on treatment when my Crohn's disease was really active, I had a lot of perianal issues, perianal disease, perianal Crohn's disease, so inflammation, fissures, ulcers. That's really the only part of my colon that was actually ever affected by Crohn's disease. And so I had some bleeding, and that's always frustrating and kind of scary still when it's a lot. And so I did have to go get that checked out, and they said it looked like I had some kind of fissure or ulcer in there, and they gave me some medicine for it and to kind of stop it and to help with the pain that comes with that. So that's what I was experiencing prior to TREMFYA, my first infusion. So probably I'm 3 weeks out now. So 3 weeks out from my very first infusion, and this is what I've noticed. my symptoms are better than they were. So I'm not having as much abdominal pain. I am not as nauseous, and the perianal stuff that I was dealing with has gone away. Again, they put me on some medicine for it, so that also I'm sure contributed to that, but it hasn't come back yet, and so that is better. I'm still having a little bit of nausea, a little bit of abdominal pain here and there, and my bowel habits are better than they were. And so one thing about my Crohn's disease too is I dealt with more constipation than diarrhea, and that's because of where my disease is located in my small bowel. And so I noticed that my bowel habits have gotten a little better. And so it seems as if right now, even though I've only had one infusion, that things are trending in the right direction, trending better, getting better than they were. And so that's a positive sign for me. I don't think that I'm 100% where I was prior at all, but I do think I'm better than I was. I've not noticed as many symptoms. Definitely the nausea is better, and the perianal stuff seems to be getting better. My bowel habits seem to be getting better. So those are all good things. I am scheduled to do my next infusion on July the 9th, which is a week from today. And so I'm ready to get that done and continue to get these loading doses in and then get on my maintenance medication. So I'll have 2 more infusions. So 1 next week and then another 4 weeks after that. And then I move to monthly injections, so subcutaneous injections. And I'll be done with infusions and get into the routine, so get into the maintenance. So I'm excited to get honestly more medicine in me so that I can really hopefully start getting all of these symptoms back under control. Again, they are better. I am feeling better, thankfully. And I am ready to just get on the maintenance, get into the routine of kind of injecting once a month. And yeah, just getting back into this solid routine. It's obviously different right now because I'm doing infusions and then going to subcutaneous injection. So I'm just ready to kind of get back on a schedule and get things back to the normal that I feel. The difference though is it's 1 injection a month. So Humira was 2 injections a month. This is actually 1 injection a month. So that is nice. I do 6 injections a week of my rare disease medication. So taking 1 injection a month away is perfect for me. Love it, love to lessen the amount of injections. And so, yeah, I'm excited to continue this. TREMFYA has some really good clinical data on it and in ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease. And I am lucky enough to as a patient, to be able to so far to have responded well to biologic medications. And so I am hopeful that this is what I need to get my clinical remission back and ensure that my disease wholly stays in check and I stay in deep remission. But overall, really good experience. I, again, experienced a little bit of fatigue, headache, maybe an increase in nausea for a day or so after my infusion. But other than that, I've felt really great. It's just an adjustment. I think that it's understandable that your body kind of feels off once you start a new medication that you've never had before. And so it wasn't anything that worried me or concerned me. It was something that I figured would potentially happen. Typically after any loading dose of biologics that I've ever had, I feel off for a little bit. And again, I think that that's understandable. And so again, get ready to get my next infusion and then complete this loading dose series and get on that subcutaneous injection schedule. But here is a video I took short right after my infusion ended. I just finished my first infusion on TREMFYA. Was there for about a little over 2 hours. Everything went really good. I got some Tylenol and stuff beforehand. Just sat there. It was nice, quiet. Had some TV, watched a movie. Didn't have any kind of reaction or anything like that, so that's always nice. But the only thing is I just feel tired. So gonna go home and rest. But yeah, first infusion was a success. So yeah, those are my thoughts as soon as I got into my car after my infusion. And so anyways, that's my TREMFYA experience so far. I plan to do another video after I finish my loading doses and do another loading dose, kind of catch people up with kind of how I feel and keep y'all on this journey with me of getting on this new medication. I know that it's scary It's scary for me to start a new medicine, especially one that you've obviously never been on before, but also a class of medication that you've never been on before. I've never been on the IL-23. And so I want to share my experience, what it's like, what the infusions are like, and then especially when I get to the subcutaneous injection part, talk about that and see what the injector is like. But I will keep you all posted on how I feel after my next infusion and then that last infusion as well. But if you have any questions about Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, rare diseases, TREMFYA, Humira, anything like that, let me know. I love to talk about it. I love to meet other people as well. Also, if you just started a new medication, let me know. Let me know how it's going. How's that going for you all? And if it's Humira, if it's a biosimilar, let me know. I would love to hear about it. I will keep you all posted. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time.